Biggest game of the weekend, mate. Biggest game of the weekend. Thoughts? You're happy with England, aren't you? That little bit of English that's inside of you.
Mate, I'm good mates with a few of the guys. I like England. I thought they'd win more comfortably than they did. I think if we set the scene going in, everything coming out of camp was they wanted to play this fast-flowing style of rugby, which they did at times. It looked a bit uncomfortable, a bit, I don't know, clunky at times. But on the flip side of that, I thought Italy were brilliant. I thought Italy's attack, I thought their defence as well, the way that they defended, like blitzing up, made it really difficult for England. I don't think England were expecting Italy to defend South African-esque, just flying up out the line, fucking hitting and hoping. But yeah, like I think kind of before we get into it, on the whole, I thought they were okay. And it's not going to happen overnight, is it? I think the snapshot for me, watching the England team, is we were talking about the backs, right? In the lead up, the Northampton, the Harlequins way that they've played this year. And that lies in the back line, mainly. But actually, when you look at the forwards, right, when you look at the England forwards, you're thinking, well, if the backs are playing like that, how are the forwards playing? I know it's combined.
Yeah.
And that's what was glaringly obvious, kind of watching the game and then evaluating it after. I'm like, right, what are you as a team? Are you scrummagers and maulers? Are you a team that plays a little bit of rugby and likes to play like Ireland with a bit of width and the skill set of the players? And this isn't meant to sound harsh. This is just my kind of loose evaluation of looking at it. Like, I don't think Ethan Roots was man of the match. I thought he was good. As Rob said on the group chat, what did you say when I said about Ethan Roots?
I said he was very busy.
He said he was busy. That's what he said, which is great. Like, being busy is good.
I watched it back, though. Nick Mullins also said that he was very busy as well.
That's why. That is what you call your subconscious. Okay?
Yeah.
Oh, you plagiarist.
Obviously,
you've just plagiarised Nick Mullins then.
Yeah.
But he got man of the match at 6. Mate, he was good. He had a couple of big carries, a couple of big shots and stuff like that, but he weren't man of the match. Like, in my opinion, Menoncello in the centre. I thought Ignacio Bretz for Italy, and I thought Tommy Freeman was brilliant on the wing. I thought Freddie Stewart was great as well. But that was the evaluation coming out of the game. If you want to play like that, what are you doing up front? Like, what's the plan up front? Because you haven't got the skill set of the players to marry up with the backs. But nonetheless, it was a good win. I don't really know what you get out of England. You can't judge them now. It's going to take a while. It's week on week, the process to get to where they want to get to if they want to play that all-out attack. Obviously, Marcus Smith being out as well. Doesn't look like he's going to be back for the Six Nations. He's definitely out this week. George Ford coming in, struggled a little bit, struggled a lot in defence, coming down his channel. But I thought Italy were good. I think that was what I came away from the game. I thought Italy looked like they had the bit between the teeth, and England wanted to play a little bit more and look decent at times.
Sorry, do you want to elaborate? Just because what you were saying there, you were saying that the way the forwards play doesn't match how the backs want to play.
It doesn't. You haven't got the offloading, jouet style, all-encompassing game. Yet you've not got a team that's going to go and monster a pack or drive lineouts over from 10 metres out of England involved. And they might go on to do that. So I was just looking at the kind of makeup and the DNA of the team. It's a bit bitty, which it's going to be, right? Because there's new players in the team. You know, I love Sam Underhill, big fan of Ben Earl, as you know. Marrow's good, and he was good at the weekend. Ollie Chesham's good, he was good at the weekend. Will Stewart. But is good enough? Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that they shouldn't be out of the team, but I'm just comparing them to Ireland, I suppose. Like that, and that's the hard thing, because a lot of England fans expect England to do well and to win big games, and that was all.
Yeah, I mean, I as an England fan watched it and I thought, you know what? There was positive shoots of how we're trying to change the way we play. So this endeavour there, you can see shape. It was clunky. It was uncomfortable at times, I think, for some of them in that kind of environment. And it's a trust thing, isn't it? So you think about what's happened with England over the last 2 or 3 years. A lot of negativity. They played in a negative way. Yes, they got to third in the world at the World Cup. But it was all about a baseline of kick it, defend, set piece, we're not really going to play with the ball. So you can't expect us straight away just to be magically as good as Ireland. But the fact that they're trying, and the fact that there were some good shapes on there, Tommy Freeman, as you said, cut some brilliant lines. And, let's not forget, going to Italy in round one, France nearly came a cropper there last year in the Six Nations. Ireland got past Italy last year on the way to a Grand Slam in a way that wasn't that comfy at times. And we're sort of judging Italy on getting hosed by France and New Zealand in the World Cup, right? But it's a new setup. We had Kieran Crowley on here, didn't we, who was trying to change their mentality completely about how they play. And now they seem to have a nice balance of still having that ability to find the width, to find the space, execute. They picked Joe Marler out a couple of times where Ollie Chesham's blitzed up and Joe Marler's stuck trying to be funny in the defensive line probably, and that created some holes. So I think off the back of it, as you said, the Benetton players, and you talk about some of them, the centre pairing, Menoncello and Brex have played together a fair bit this year, on fire. Menoncello is an absolute unit as well. So they're comfy
21,
in
Andrew.
Yeah. They're comfy in how they play together, even though there's a new coaching structure. And, I'm going to be a little bit negative because I don't know what Steve Borthwick said after the game and what he meant about it, but he said, at times we look like a team that had only had 3 training sessions together. He's had 2 weeks. What are you on about, Steve? If that's your excuse for it. But I thought we looked okay at times, and there's a lot of things to build on where we can get better week on week by getting used to playing together and going over it and understanding the lines and just repetitive stuff in training. But that mindset has shifted purely from box kicking, only play rugby in their half, and then when we're in their half, kick it as well, to actually trying to put some shape on an attack. So it's not going to be perfect. We're not Ireland. We're not Scotland at times, because Scotland have been a team that haven't had much disruption from the World Cup, and, they're comfortable in how they play. But I was pretty positive about having them played. Yes, people are like, yeah, you only beat Italy by 3 points. But, a minute before Ioane scores a worldie of a try to close it up to 3 points, we got held up near the line, didn't we? A minute before Ioane scores a worldie of a try. And that could have been a 17-point victory for us, which actually looks pretty comfortable. So I was all right. England did what they needed to do. It's never an easy place first up to go to. It's a lot easier, and I mean this respectfully to Italy, if you play them later in the tournament when they are shattered, they've got a few injuries, and you're more on a roll as a team. And that's proofs in the pudding of the history of results, right? Because they haven't got a massive amount of depth. But in reality, England went over there, did a job. There was some good attacking intent. There was some shape in attack. It wasn't perfect. Freeman was great. I thought Chandler Cunningham South was brilliant as well off the bench. Some players were a little bit quiet, but you know what? It's a new way of playing, a new vibe, and hopefully we do get better week on week.
And it's really hard, isn't it, when you talk about England, because there is an expectation of England doing something, and the fact that you alluded to it last week, Andrew, many times, 3rd best team in the world, finished 3rd at the World Cup.
We are.
But when you look at the profile of the team, even compared to Italy's, Ignacio Brex, like Paolo Garbisi, his brother playing at 9. I know that's the first time they've had that partnership, but you've got Monty Ioane on the wing. You've got Canoni at 8, Seb Negri, Lamaro, friend of the show, who's coming on later. Like, it's a settled team. Like, that's a settled Italian team who are fucking raging because they're embarrassed at the World Cup. You know what I mean? So the way that they defended, like flying out the line, like, it's hard to play against, right? It's a hard style to play against. So I think England, with the new caps that they've got, and this has been your bugbear in the past, is not picking players on form. Like, these are players that are on form, right, that he's picked. Yeah. This is the best there is out there. Arguably, Zach Mercer, I think, could fit in there somewhere. 100%. There'd be a couple of others. But on the whole, like, that's England's best team trying to do something positive. But Rob picked up a couple of things, England players flying out of the line. Go on, Rob, give us a bit more, then Goodey can answer.
I just thought, so the couple of Italian tries, I thought our defence looked a bit confused.
When you say our, is that England? You're not Scottish, you're English, right? Our.
They.
That's the boy.
No,
you were me today,
Rob. You are English, Rob. And you're dead right, Rob.
We'll see.
Felix Jones has come in, and let's remember South Africa's defence, right, is massive units flying off the line, blitzing as hard as they can, spooking the life out of everyone who's got the ball, and backing that up with physicality. Now, obviously, that's the way that Felix Jones coaches teams to defend, with the blitz, flying off the line. And it's easier for some players to do it than others. It's also going into a new system where, and you have to look at exactly what Rob said, you look at a couple of the tries, and Ollie Chesham, and someone will look at this and go, Ollie Chesham's flown out the line, that's his fault. But what happens is, he's trying to take the line speed up, other players have reacted, and the first one, Joe Marler's on the inside, he can't react because he's not quick enough. And people will just blame that on Ollie Chesham. But I can guarantee you, Felix Jones would have been encouraging Ollie Chesham to go and do that. And that's how he wants his team to defend. And it's not comfy at times when you're not used to doing it time after time after time. And it's a new system for England. So it will take time. The problem is, the deeper we get into the tournament, the better the players get. All due respect. So Finn Russell will have a field day against that sort of stuff up in Scotland, unless it's absolutely pissing down with rain. You know, the Irish team, how good they are, round 4, and then France in round 5. So you only get better by doing it repeatedly, and you're doing it under pressure in games. Now, it's a new system. It's how Felix Jones defends as a team that he coaches. So I can't see, he's just won back-to-back World Cups, right? So he'll 100% believe, and that's the best way to defend. His issue is, he hasn't got the athletes, the size, the units that he's had with South Africa. You've got the best defensive team in the world there. 1, because of the system you put in place, but 2, because of the athletes that he's had at his disposal. And you think about all those players, your Peter Steph Toys, you know, Dwayne Vermeulen, your Quagga Smith when he's come off the bench, Sia Khaleesi, Etzebeth. All these boys are monsters and are trained in that way to get off the line and blitz and put teams under pressure. So it will take time for England under a new system, a new coach. But I guarantee he'll stick with it, and he'll be wanting more and more line speed, getting off the line, trying to force errors on opposition, and he'll see that as the best way to go.
So would you make any changes to that England squad?
You know what? There's argument, Andrew, and I'm a big George Ford fan. I am. The way he plays in attack, but defensively, just... is he big enough? That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking if you're playing against Wales and you've got Nick Tompkins, who we know is a monster carrier, there's talk of George North maybe coming back in the centre. You've got Mason Grady as well coming down that channel. You've got Aaron Wainwright, fucking big ball carrier. You know, you've got some big men coming down that channel. Is there an argument to bring in a Finn Smith, who we know is a big lad and can bang as well?
Yeah, I hear you. I don't think Steve Borthwick will at all. I think that's not even a thought process for him. But you're right. You've got to ask questions of that. But I think he'll go with continuity. Listen, Finn Smith made his first cap at the weekend off the bench, did reasonably well for the short time he was on. I can't see him changing George Ford at all. I'll tell you what he does need to change, and that's, you see Joe Marler, and people will go, oh, you're just going at Marler here. I'm not. Watch Joe Marler's around a game, and you're talking about getting off a line and the speed and all that stuff. He's, to me, watching him, he's like a passenger sometimes. So for me, I think you've got to bring Ellis Genge back in. I think he's fit this week. So you start Genji, you've got Abano to come off the bench at loose head. Changes, I thought Sam Underhill was quite quiet. Yeah, there's an argument to put Chandler Cunningham South in there to start because he was explosive when he came on. And you're right, Jim. And in Underhill's defence, that's his first game for a couple of months at least. He's been out injured. But in terms of competing with the best, you need these bigger athletes, and Chandler Cunningham South is an opportunity to have some sort of spite in a carry and some power and all that stuff. But it's not in Borthwick's DNA. And you're going on back to the point that you made, Jim, around does the forward pack marry up with how the backs are trying to play? And you're right, it's difficult. So you need Ben Earl. Maybe play Ben Earl at 7 and bring Dombrandt in at 8 so you've got some carrying ability. But I don't think he'll change too much. I really don't. I think there's talk of Dingwall. People are saying, do you think he came in for a bit of criticism? I think Dingwall should stay in at 12. One argument I could make, and Freddie Stewart played pretty well, but do you play Furbank at fullback to add another layer of excitement.
Oh, I love Freddie Stewart. I'd never do that. I'd put him on the wing though, if that's the case. But Wales play a different style of game, do they? They're not kicking led first. They were when they had Liam Williams and they could put the up and unders and Dan Bigger. You know what I mean? So maybe that comes down to a strategy of how the different teams are playing. You know what I mean? I'm a big Freddie Stewart fan on either of the wings. But also on Sam Underhill, big Sam Underhill fan. And no disrespect to Italy, but if you're playing against a South Africa, an Ireland, a New Zealand, which you're not, Sam Underhill has to play. Like, he has to start. He is chopperoo, as physical as they come. He's just not got the attacking, which he did bring into his game before he got injured, the attacking style of game which England are looking for. So I think it's about nice tips, like the balance, the kind of standout physical attributes of a Peter Steph Toy when he's carrying. So big Sam Underhill fan. I don't think he'll make many changes though. You can't change after week one.
Pod.
Rugby pod.